You know, we've seen our share of rivalries in this part of the country. You know, and sometimes in music you see it. Drake versus Kendrick Lamar, they come to mind.
All right, but not all of them are rivals. In fact, two of the largest bands, most popular bands in the entire world at one time, trying to figure out who they were, ran into each other. Tony Kurre joins us now to talk about the Beatles and the Rolling Stones.
I mean, come on, 62 years ago today was a London club. The Rolling Stones were playing a show, and Paul had heard that they were in town, and so he went over there to check them out. And of course, they all showed up in the front. And Mick knew who the Beatles were because the Beatles preceded the Rolling Stones in time and, of course, in their success. And he saw them wearing these long black leather jackets. And he's like, man, I'm going to start writing songs because I want to own one of those. Well, little did he know they would be as famous as the Beatles ever were.
So you said they were trying to, each band was trying to figure out who they were, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, the crazy thing is, you know, we always look at the two bands because we can't let two bands be happy, right? It's got to be Kendrick. It's got to be. We love even in the
Mariah Carey, Nicki Minaj.
Even in the Masters yesterday, we had to have Rose and we had to have McElroy. We have to have some type of rivalry because we love that and it gives us something to root for. And what people don't realize is the Rolling Stones, the Beatles, were about as close as you possibly get, considering how big they were.
Did not know.
I mean, for example, Mick Jagger had a romantic relationship with Linda McCartney at one point. Paul McCartney's wife at one point. No, they did. They were romantically involved.
Before Paul.
Which a lot of people didn't realize. The Rolling Stones obviously brought the Beatles on for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which a lot of people didn't realize. If you remember, George Harrison was actually with Keith Richards and Mick Jagger on the night they got busted, their big drug bust in 1973. So that George just kind of went out the back door. So the Beatles and the Rolling Stones have been together for a long period of time, and it wasn't always a fight between the two of them. They always, in the past, John may have said something to the extent of, and he did say this, he said, you know, the Rolling Stones are just the Beatles are a year too late, is what he said. And of course, a lot of people took that as, and the Rolling Stones would say, yeah, he's right.
Can you imagine what would have happened if the Beatles had gone on? And because we all know the Rolling Stones were still, going on.
Yeah, well,
could you imagine what that would have been like to see them?
Well, the crazy thing is Mick and Paul were so close together that they were releasing records at the same time in the 60s, the early 60s, mid 60s, and they would call each other and they would get with their record labels and say, listen, we're going to release She Loves You on this date. Please don't release your record, Brown Sugar, on this date, so we don't have to make the fans.
So they work together.
Yeah, so we don't need the fans to actually pick which song because they didn't want the fans to have to pick either the Rolling Stones or the Beatles because there was room for both.
Meanwhile, you saw it earlier. Blue Origin. Katy Perry was on the Blue Origin that went up and came back down, and there's right there some of the launch there, and a lot of big name stars on that thing that just went up.
Rock and roll in space, right? Yeah, and I get it that it's amazing that we've had 6 beautiful ladies, and they're all crafted and very, very good at what they do in their particular areas of expertise. But I guess a lot of people are like, is this really that big of a deal? I think it's great to show girls, my daughter just turned 13, that women can do anything they want, and they can do anything they want, and that they can go into space if they're rich like Katy.
Well, but we've had plenty of female astronauts gone to the Space Shuttle Challenger, gone out and worked NASA. So it's not the first time. Yeah. And they actually were part of the crew, to take the thing on up there.
Exactly. They just got up there, kind of went for a ride.
Yeah.
No, I have to ask. I have to question. Gail King was part of that. I have to ask you this: if they would give you a free ride, would you go?
No.
Why?
I just no, thank you.
I like to know what I know.
You know what the song says? What goes up must come down.
See, I'm claustrophobic, and I'd like to think I could get through that in a 10-minute ride.
You're good right here, right?
I'm good right here.
All right, gentlemen.
I'm with you. Yeah, I'm with you.
All right, we'll be right back.